right. Are you stumbling in life? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have happened to stumble in on JK's Rewatchable Hour. This hour, we are dedicating to two of our considered finest friends, mentors, brothers at arms in Christ, on the street, uh, protecting the general public. What do you think, guys? Help me if I'm, going on here.
I agree
I,
with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I'll help anyone and everyone. So I guess, yeah, that would be general public.
yeah.
All
It's
right,
almost like we're
awesome,
superheroes.
awesome. There you go. There you
Just
go.
without the
Right.
There you
capes.
go.
Yeah, Polish
There you
superhero.
go.
That's scary.
On my right, obviously, is my awesome co-host, Mr. J Dubs. Take it away for a second,
It's
man.
me. Thank you. Excited to do this show. I've been waiting all day to do this show. Thankfully, we got some awesome guests, some friends of ours, mentors, like you said. And I'm just ready to kick off the show. This isn't about you and me. This is about two people who also change lives, and just ready to get into it. You know me. I can't wait. It's like Christmas every day when we do this.
Yep, yep. All right. And then, least further to my right, because we're doing the whole Brady Bunch thing this time instead of
Oh,
our usually regularly scheduled recording.
Here's a
Which
story.
I dig. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Further inland here is Mr. William Verity. Billiam, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. You had a busy day with the children, I can imagine.
Yep.
Lots of family in and out, and bringing food, and then also that some of that food circling back. Never, we
That,
don't have to talk about
eh,
it.
we do things a little bit different. Like my kids don't eat ham, so we did grilled chicken. They're not big vegetable fans, so I did smoked corn with like
Oh,
poblano peppers.
Cool.
I shaved Brussels sprouts because if I even put like a little
Tough
green ball
Western.
in front of them, they're not going to eat it.
Yeah,
So
whatever
you got to be
works.
creative. Hey,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
yeah.
we had fun. We had a good time.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Good.
Very
But
cool.
So
So,
All right.
if we're looking at this screen down at the bottom, it's an individual that we all know, all the way from down somewhere down there, all the way that way from us, the one and only Mr. John Palmer. How you doing today, sir?
hey, I'm doing great, man. I'm as I say and tell a lot of people, I'm living the dream every day, man.
Awesome,
So
awesome. And
yeah,
On a
how was your Easter?
it was great. It's always great to get together with family and kind of
come
come
here. Yeah,
together and
making a
just
video.
be with each other as much as we can. Obviously, as we all know, some of our parents have passed. Our
Yep,
parents are getting older, so it's the time that we can get around them and be with them is very valuable now.
absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
for sure,
Um,
for sure.
So as you can see, we're getting photobombed by some really cute kids. You know, we welcome it on the
Yes,
show. We welcome
we've
it.
we've
Absolutely,
lost competition already.
And the most of my
We've
time has
lost
been
it.
spent
We're
preparing to get
we're
these
like
kids to do
yuppies.
something.
We're like yuppies
absolutely,
over here.
Well, they know who you are.
absolutely
It is a
good.
it is a true Brady Bunch screen, no doubt.
There's a story. Okay, so um, we're all here today for a purpose. I'm wearing the shirt. It's something that's really it's really I'm passionate about it. I know you guys see all my social media.
Yep.
Um, and I just want to say, whoever's going to watch this show down our disclaimer: if you're going to say a just don't. We everything we turn you into the YouTube authorities, and your channel will get shut down. You'll never be able to watch YouTube again. We're not paying anybody. And whatever John and Will say, it's from their heart because they are just like us. They want to help change lives. And I'm speaking from experience. We'll get into that later. Will really was instrumental in helping me become who I am today. Um, you know, um, we were just talking the other night about, if you want to impress people and help, you don't tell them about all your success, you tell them about all your failures. I kind of ad-libbed that. And John, I think that's what you had said. So I'm going to kind of put you on the spot right now.
Sure.
Why don't you tell about, like, why you think mental health, why it needs to be talked about every day, and why it's really something important to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think mental health is one of the big topics that has really been brought to light over the last, 5, 10 years, if not longer. Um, just because of everything that we see going on in society today. It just everything that I see, it just amazes me. We all grew up together in a very small town, and we knew each other years and years ago, and have known each other for all these years. And it's just crazy to see how society and I guess the world has evolved to the point it is now. I mean, when I was even 20, 25 years ago, I never thought it would be to the way it is today. And as we kind of spoke the other night, I think as men and as leaders of our and really trying to set the example for, fatherhood, being great husbands, trying to set the example for our kids. Mental health, especially with men, was, kind of frowned upon. You were always taught when we were
Yeah.
kids, oh, suck it up, deal with it, push through it. And I think that's, a big point now as to saying, hey, we need to get together. We need to talk. We need some support system to be through certain things in our lives, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're indifferent. And just being able to have that support system and be able to, like we were doing the other night, just bouncing ideas off of each other and
100%.
sharing stories. Sharing your story today, I think, can be the most impactful thing, that, like we talk about, helping people. And like you said, Jeff, it's, something I said the other night, I learned from a mentor years ago. The fact that, yeah, we can tell everybody about the successes that we've had, but that's not really going to help that get through, area or chapter of their life they're in right now.
Absolutely, and that was actually perfectly said, because that leads me into, William, who obviously everybody here knows, and I'm very partial to Will, just because he's helped me over the last, I don't know, 8 years, just being a friend, a brother, just a confidant. I mean, whether it be the weight room, or we just talk, whatever. It was because of him is how I started to change my life so many years ago, and I look up to him. And one of the things I respect about both of you is, I think when we all talk, or we comment on social media, it's not to say, hey, look at me. It's like, hey, I can relate to you. um and Bill, I mean, you have a great story. Why don't you tell everybody why you think, mental health is so important, and that we need to, talk about it every day.
Well, I mean, to really hit on what John said, I mean, there was a huge stigma on it, especially when we were younger. Like, you don't talk about it, you keep it internal. Guys, stuff like that. And unfortunately, it just keeps getting passed down and getting passed down. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't need to be that way. Just getting it out there and talking and finding like-minded people who have the same issues just kind of shows you that you're not alone. And I was lucky. I mean, growing up, I mean, I had a good household, but I was a bit of a knucklehead. And I was known to be a knucklehead. Um, and that went on for a couple decades. Um, and then luckily one day I just turned myself around, but it was those not so good things in my life that showed me that, there's a better way to live, but to keep those, negative things close to your heart, so where you came from.
Right.
And like, you know, for guys to be able to tell their story, to be somebody who I've been alcoholic for years. I knew that I had, but I just was on my own, afraid to, like, decades because I wanted to ask for help. You know, afraid that I live without a drink. It wouldn't be that really would be a different. I couldn't, and it turned. I'm glad. I'm just, and I make me so, but and I share like crazy stories. It's the embarrassing times in the hospital, arrested. I came from all of these times, and I don't hide it. You never, somebody asks how many times you've been arrested. I tell because that happened, but that's not who I am.
Right.
It's what you do after, and that's what this is about. Is giving someone else that opportunity by talking to them, by reaching out and saying, hey,
Absolutely.
you're not alone.
Absolutely. And the one thing ever done to me, Bill, is you've never said, "Hey, Welchie, you've got to do this. You got to do this." You're like, "Hey, listen, I'm just going to help you out. I'm going to be here, but I'm gonna help you get started, but it's going to be mostly on you, to take the first steps." And I know John has been sending a bunch of stuff through Messenger, and I think that's really respectful because John said, when we growed up, it was like you couldn't cry, you couldn't ask for help because oh, you're being a little girl, and that's on this cry.
I mean, it'll be okay.
Yep.
That's the motto of
Exactly.
anybody that's been through it before and knows better than to look back on someone and judge them by their past versus judge them by who you see now today and who they are trying to be. Over and over, we could state that premise. You don't
Absolutely.
look back,
Absolutely.
and that, my man, as you've heard me say this before, as we are climbing the hill and we are reaching over the hill, it's time that we hit rock bottom enough in our own hearts that we're forced to look around and create some self-awareness and look at who we want to be. And look around, and we're not going to roll back down the hill. No,
No.
this
Nope.
hill is just at the bottom of a mountain. It's time to climb. It's time to climb. It's time to help each other up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Exactly.
And
Yep.
yeah,
so we all didn't just arrive at this point like we just woke up one day. We all had to go through some very things in our life, and I'm just going to share a story with you all, and if you all feel if you want to share your story, that's great. um so back in 2016 was probably one of the hardest times of my life. Lost my mom, had a falling out with my child. I was just in a really, really dark place. That I thought I had fought so long to get out of. I was starting to drink a lot more, and I just wasn't really caring about life much. And I didn't really have a purpose. I didn't have a sense of direction. And I didn't really it was like that whole high school thing where I always walked with my head down, and I didn't have a backbone, and I didn't have self respect or self esteem. Um, and then, Bill and I talked a lot, and he helped change my life. And um, the importance of that story is that you have a support out there. If you're not happy with your surroundings, then you got to change your surroundings to because the old saying is like you never ask a broke person what to do with your money because they're always broke, right? They're not gonna they're just probably like, oh hey, Uncle Jimmy gives me the hookup, but
Yep.
and so nowadays I ask everybody if they're okay, and I will talk to anybody, and I will be there for everybody. And that's just the story I wanted to share because of Bill. and is why I'm sitting here now trying to pay this forward. And I'm very passionate about that. It's okay to not be okay. And I never laugh at anybody, you know? Um,
Yep.
I mean, I went my whole life not being able to talk or look somebody in the eye or sit up straight, unless I was at the bar, under the influence of a lot of drugs. It just broke me out of that shy little, like I could never talk to me. I could never be myself. And I'm very thankful. As I said, I'm very partial to Bill. Bill's just one of the few individuals that helped me throughout, from 2016 to this very day, So I wanted to share that story is how powerful it is to have the right positive people, not only in your corner but behind you, just to give you just a little shove, just be like, hey, I got you in case you do fall back. Bill was there with his I mean, if you look at Bill, he back then he was friggin' huge, so his two hands just held me up, so
Beast mode. Yep.
so
Well, and I think
go ahead.
I was going to say, Jeff, just if you don't mind me just kind of butting in here a little
No,
bit.
absolutely.
So, it's funny, I'm writing notes as we're talking here because things are popping into my head. But, kind of going back to what you were saying, and I think, what I touched on earlier, again, when we were kids growing up, we saw how our fathers and our grandfathers dealt with mental illness back then. They didn't talk. Look at how many people turn to alcohol or turn to drugs or turn to whatever vice to be able to deal with how they were feeling. And the first thing that popped into my mind when you were talking about that earlier is it's time to break that generational curse. And it's
Absolutely.
time to be able to now set that example for our kids and our grandkids to say, hey, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be able to break down and be able to talk about these things. And, the second thing, I think when we're helping each other, another thing I learned from one of my mentors years ago is when we're helping people and we talked about, if we're climbing the ladder together, Jeff, to your point, if you're pushing me up that ladder from behind, helping me get up higher, I should be reaching down behind me, helping you up behind me to that next rung. So it kind of goes both ways. And
Absolutely.
really being able to say, hey, you're helping me. I'm not going to let you falter. I'm going to pull you up behind me with me to be able to help you get to that next level or wherever, you want to be to deal with whatever you're dealing with.
And we need more of that right there instead of like, people just using somebody to get to the next plateau or the next level.
Yeah.
And you
Name
said,
droppers.
yeah,
Yeah.
you said it right. If somebody's helping you, you should be reaching back to help them come with you, and that's what Bill has done since 2016, and,
Yep.
Bill, of course, whatever you want to share is strictly on you, but, you touched on a little bit about how you used to live your life. If you would, why don't you share where you once were in life to where you are now?
Sure. Just getting into the field I was into, I was a cook. So, it was a high stress industry. And there's lots of ways you could take that stress. And I did the easy way. It was drinking. And I was good at it. Um,
Yeah.
so I ballooned to almost 400 pounds by age 37, and was drinking probably anywhere between 12 to 16 beers before 8 a.m. just to stop my shakes. And I knew the whole time I was sick.
DTs. Yeah, delirium
But
tremens. Yep.
in my head, because I wasn't drunk, I still could drive. But you're doing the math. That number says you're way over the limit. Um, but I was drinking 230 packs a day and a half bottle of Sambuca a day. And I did that for about a decade. One day I just woke up and said, I can't do this anymore. Um, I went into the hospital after full on hallucinations, shooting off guns at imaginary things on my property. Luckily, I had friends come up and take all the guns away. Um, the hallucinations lasted for 5 days. They said that my organs were about 2% and that I was a month away from dying. So whoever or whatever told me to quit, I believe it was my father because he had just passed away. Um, I I quit. And that was December 3rd, 2010. And I haven't had a drop of alcohol touch my lips since that day. Um, but I remember there was 10 little boys in my house. They were little boys. And they were talking to me and we were building. I actually tore apart a recliner with my bare hands. I cut my hands up. I ripped apart a recliner and was trying to build a race car with one of the imaginary boys. I still remember their faces. As real as that, these hallucinations were the strongest hallucinations. I mean, and I did a lot of drugs. These are unbelievable. They've been with me from that day. And I know for a fact that I will never, ever, ever drink again. Um,
That's awesome.
because, yeah, it's just, and you have to know that you're irresponsible. And I am 100% irresponsible when drinking alcohol. So that's what I share when I share. And I tell them the crazy stories, peeing my pants, waking up in the hospital, with catheters, not knowing how I got there. Winding up in Vegas once, had no clue. It wasn't any crazy story. I went for a wedding, but I was so drunk. I was just like, yeah, I'll go. And they bought my ticket, and I woke up, and I'm in a hotel. I was like, holy shit. I mean, it's
I woke up in the back
stuff.
of a minivan in Vegas, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I did some pretty dumb things. I should have died a million times. And sure that I tell the grimiest details because they need to be told.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's who I was.
Yep.
But it's not who I am anymore.
Exactly.
It doesn't define me. It doesn't define me.
Yeah. John, I know. Oh, go ahead.
Touch on something John touched on. Generational curse, and that is obviously the more theological term for it. But scientifically, it's generational trauma.
Yep.
It's reliving it. It's reliving what we've seen
Billy.
either loved ones, parents, friends, family, uncles, and we think that is in our genes. And to be able to fight that trauma with the next generation is probably what saves ours, honestly.
Just with that, Craig, I think mine was because I kind of grew up in that environment, and if you're hanging out with the older crowd, they're drinking, they're smoking, they're doing, you don't want to be laughed at, so you just go ahead and do it. I was a follower back then,
Yeah.
That's the thing. No matter who you are, there's no leaders when it comes to doing stuff like that. There's no leaders. I mean, it looks cool. You do it.
Yeah.
I remember the first day that I picked up, and I made that choice because I thought it was going to look cool.
Yeah.
It was college for me.
Nobody twisted my arm. I did it, and I own it. That's why people don't like me in AA. I tell them this is not a disease; it's a choice.
Right.
Exactly.
That was a choice.
It's
accountability
to its core.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the problem with society. Society tries to make this like a disease. It's not. It's bad choices. It's bad choices. People could drink. I don't have an issue with anybody drinking responsibly. That's not me. It's not me. So, I accept that. But society just tries to make it okay. And that's the problem. It's not okay. And mental health, has that stigma that they got it reversed. And it sucks that, they put so much effort into alcohol and trying to figure it out. Open your eyes. It's not hard. You can figure that out. But people need help out there.
Absolutely.
People need help. I see it every day in Ithaca. I saw this young man the other day with a sword. This was a kid. He was 18. I stopped him. It was a sword. The handle was above his head, and the blade was behind his knees, and he had a coat on. I said, "Hey, pal." I said, "Is that a sword?" And he's like, "Yeah. Do you want to see it?" And I said, "No. I just wanted to know what it was." I said, "And if I were you, I wouldn't take it out." I said, "You're going to give somebody a reason to do something." Seemed like a
Yeah.
good kid, but he was mentally challenged. They let him out, and he's walking around with a freaking sword because you can have it if it's not sharpened. And
Yeah.
you can legally buy
You
them,
can, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
but it's
Wow.
not
That's a
smart.
drain pipe anywhere, yeah.
Well, that's what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
They're letting these people just walk around, and like that shouldn't happen. I mean,
Right.
that really
Right.
shouldn't happen.
No, you're absolutely right. So John, we were talking the other night how, we see each other on social media a lot. But obviously
Sure.
we lost touch over the last 30 years.
Yep.
This show is completely volunteer. If you'd like to share, where you once were to where you are now, I mean,
Sure.
because I'd like to know your story as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I know when you guys started this podcast, 10 or so episodes ago, I think
Thank you.
one of the first messages that I sent to you, Jeff, is, sharing stories and how impactful it is. And I said, one of the first people you have to have on that show and share their story was William,
Yeah.
because of the transformation that he made with his life. And just going back to what you guys were just talking about, it's funny that we talked about choices because I was talking about this with my wife today on the car ride home from Easter. And I said, a lot of people are in the situations they're in because of the choices they make.
Yep.
It's everything is a choice. It's whether, all right, do we want to do what makes us feel good now, or do we want to do what can potentially help us long term and put us and ultimately get us where we want to be. So I think my story, yeah, I can kind of relate a little bit as far as the outcome or where the outcome was headed with my story to where Will's is. It's just in a different light. Mine was not with alcohol. It was not with drugs. Mine was, quite frankly, because I was a workaholic for a long time. Shortly after I got out of college, I started working at a gym, and I, over the years of working there, had kind of started at the bottom of the rung. And, we were always taught in school, or they always teach you, okay, try to work yourself and work your way up this corporate ladder to potentially get where you want to be. I started out doing some small training. I started out then going into selling memberships for the gym that I worked for. And over the years, I slowly kind of worked myself up into a management position. And then I eventually became a managing partner, and I owned my own location of a gym that we had. At our peak, we had 13 locations between Buffalo and Rochester.
Nice.
So I owned one of the locations. And throughout that whole process, a lot of people think to be successful is to be able to run and have your own business, which can be to an extent, but most people don't realize that the business also owns you. Where, okay, if I have an employee that doesn't want to come in and work one day, if I can't find anybody to work, guess who's working that shift, or guess who is doing that time? That's me as the owner. So, eventually it got to a point where, my body just, couldn't take the stress anymore. I was working 65, 70 plus hour weeks. There were some days where I was working 15 hours a day. And because of that, I had some other things that obviously didn't go the way I wanted them in my life. My wife at the time and I got divorced. We had 2 young children. I'm not ashamed to say that, but I'm also, realizing as I've gotten older and matured that it wasn't something that was a highlight of my life, getting divorced. I know I could have done better back then as a husband, and could have done better as a father, but I was so focused on getting to where I wanted to be at a certain level with my success at running a business that was kind of my only focus. And then it all came to a head back in 2015. I had started to, I had obviously met somebody else in my life. We had started dating. And then to this day, I truly feel that she was the angel that God brought into my life. You know, I obviously accepted, you know, Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior back then. You know, and I still can hear my mom, God bless her soul, telling me, you know, she used to always tell me, you got to get right with Jesus. You got to get right with Jesus. And I did. And I think he truly brought my wife now into my life back then to tell me, you know what, you've fought and you've gone against me for so long trying to do it your way. Now it's time to do it my way.
Amen.
And you know, it got to a point where I became very sick, but didn't really know what was wrong with me. I just felt like I was very tired, very lethargic. You know, got to a point where I was like, wow, maybe I have chronic fatigue syndrome. But, you know, again, that stigma as men, we just bull rush through it. We try to suck it up and work through it. And, you know, I tell everybody now, you got to listen to your body. You've got to really listen to what your body is telling you. And long story short, I didn't realize that I was diagnosed. I was actually hospitalized for a week. I was diagnosed with a very rare autoimmune disease where my kidneys actually started shutting down. And it got to the point where I don't remember the story, but my wife can tell it better than I can. But I was probably 24 to 48 hours away from death with the way my body was shutting down because I couldn't do anything. Literally, for me to get out of bed and walk 10 feet to the bathroom, I was physically exhausted. I wanted to lay down. And my body basically was shutting down. They said your kidneys were starting to go into failure. So, and it was all stress related, because obviously owning your own business and trying to generate revenue and make money and do all of that, it was constantly on my mind to be able to life. Now I basically do that about you can make on a yearly basis, you know? So that was a thing that changed me. But if it wasn't for my wife being in my life at that point to say, hey, you need to go see the doctor, you need to go do this, you need to go do that, and then finally saying, you know what, I think you got to find something else with your life. You know, I think that was the key. And again, to this day, when I tell this, I think it was, you know, Jesus coming into my life saying, you know what, you're done doing it your way. It's time to do it my way. She's going to be the one that's going to move you into this other.
You know, obviously I had no idea about that story, and I was sitting here listening, and I'm just blown away. I mean, everybody would talk about, say like their home life or their friends or work or this and stress, but nobody ever. I mean, I think this is the first time I've ever heard somebody being so stressed out because of their work schedule that it actually hurt their body. And I mean, I was making notes. I'm I was just writing that down because that's something that I'm going to be thinking about. And before we get to Craig's story, and now that I think about it, I mean, I used to, years 2080 work. I was doing 200 to 200 overtime. I was always feeling right, and I do all that much. When you were talking, I was thinking like, man, I kind of remember those days where I'm like, I'm just so damn tired that like, why? Like, what is wrong with me? But like, I'm like, I got to suck it up. I got to make more money to make sure all the bills are paid. But I'm just writing stuff down. So that was really, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's they always talk about, you hear all this talk about work-life balance and about, a lot of this other stuff. And, I think if somebody wants to own a business and get it off the ground, there really is going to be no work-life balance right away. You've got to be able to put some hard time in to get a business to where you want to be. But the doctors basically looked at us and said, yeah, this is due to stress. Your body just said, you know what, I can't do 70 hours a week anymore. I can't continue to do this. And again, I think everything kind of aligned after that to help put me on the path that I am now.
Right.
I mean,
Wow.
mind body is such a thing. Like, people underestimate stress. Like, as a bodybuilder and as a coach, I tell people, like, when they're freaking out and they got the scale in front of them, I'm like, throw that thing out in the yard. Throw it out in the yard. Don't look at it for a week. And I'll tell you, the stress level goes down, and next thing you know, the weight's flying off.
Yep.
Stress will do the darndest things to your body. So, in mind, body, everything, stress affects everything. So,
Absolutely.
the less stressors you have in your life, the better. But having somebody there to help you through it,
It's
is a thing.
priceless.
Yeah,
Definitely
if my
priceless. Definitely.
Yeah.
If my wife wasn't with me when I was there at that time, I'm 99% sure I'd be dead right now.
Yeah, and I believe what you said. I bet, just like me quitting, alcohol, I believe whoever gave me that will to do it, told me to do it. I believe it to be God. In my heart,
Yeah.
I believe it to be
Mhm.
God. Just like John, I believe, not meeting your wife, I believe that she was sent to you to give you what you needed to put you where you are, and now you're helping people. And
Absolutely.
that's what you do. You
I love
give
it.
back.
I love
Yep,
it.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Pay it forward.
Sure.
Yep.
So Craig, I know that you and I, another funny story, Craig and I, we met in high school, didn't really talk too much for 30 some years. We entered a chat group together, and here we are. He's becoming a really good friend of mine. There's nothing I won't do for him, as I wouldn't do for you or anybody else. Again, we don't know each other's stories. If Craig, if you're willing, share
Okay,
how
well,
you.
I'm gonna try to give like the most abridged version that's gonna sound kind of extraordinary.
Extraordinary. All right.
But it's not. It's not though. This is every guy. It's like, my man Philadelphia, Rocky there, Bill Verdi, it, bouncers in nightclubs as well as, you know, and and then we got the gym executive. It's we're just guys. We're just men. Um, you know, for middle-aged men, I think we're doing pretty good as we stumble through life here. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, so I'll start where in high school, where you started JW, and that is right here, South Seneca, Central High. And I had already spent a stint in foster's care for a year for Waterloo as a young teenager, where I met Daryl, our good friend, Daryl Wiggins, and we both transferred to South Seneca together. So that was kind of strange, So that's what kind of made him and I lifelong friends. But moving forward, football. All you guys, we all played football together. You know, uh, there's my little man who also played flag football this past year.
Good
Yeah,
job.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, you know,
Thumbs up.
gratuitous, yeah, plugging in there. Go Bills! Okay. Go Bills! There too. Oh, are you okay, buddy? Are you okay? You got my nose. That's not bad. I told you I'd take a punch on this show, didn't I? I told you I'd
Absolutely.
take a punch, and I just took a punch. So anyway, you're good, bro. You're good, my little man. Football. I was hoping to make something more out of that, but really couldn't here in the small town. So I graduated in Newark. Um, when I emancipated myself from foster care to go live with my mom for a little part of my senior year, and it didn't end up going all the way through school. I GED'd out early and went to Cuba for a bit. HEOP program, did quite well there. Went to a satellite technical school in Jersey, Woodbridge, Jersey, which is like a satellite of Rutgers. Really wanted to walk on and play Rutgers football, but got into a really bad car accident when I was like talking like 20 in college. um, had to reroute, so I went the broadcasting route and went to SUNY Hudson Valley Broadcasting at New School Radio and Television in Albany, New York, and graduated there very well. A year before I got married in '99 was actually 9/11/99. You guys know that date, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, this might sound extraordinary, but it is true. So, but buddy, moving. Or her were in there when they had her, so we spent our marriage taking care of her parents, Chuck and Jenny, and that was rough because we saw them to the end. Buried both within 2 months, and then 2 months later, no, this was before our son was born, Joseph. So yeah, I was 13 right now. So I didn't really know I was going to get into my life story in this because we do want to like and subscribe.
You're fine. No, you're fine. You're fine.
That's all good. So, went into absolute epic fail mode into a bad relationship with a corrections counselor, and had my pick of any opioids I wanted from that counselor. Yeah. So Bill, you gotta know where I'm getting the gist of there.
Yep.
So yeah, went through bad in that relationship, really bad. I just continued self-destruct until I met the mother of these two blind little boys. And Bill, that brings us to how we just got together. What?
Yep.
Because that relationship epically failed. So yeah, and you were kind of dealing with a similar situation then.
So I mean, if not, I mean, not to compare like bad and bad. I mean, mine had just walked out, on everyone, and it was not good timing, and I got diagnosed with cancer, and at the same time, which it is what it is. And yeah, it was a train wreck of a lot of bad things, but you put your foot forward. You have to. You bury your head, your head gets dirty.
But
there's one main blessing, and that's waking up every day.
Yep.
Yeah,
blessing you can
and we connected.
Lean on. Yeah.
We connected through this crap,
Right.
And it's
like
I say crap, and I mean I respect it.
Yeah, at 4 a.m, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I was getting at. I mean, I think a lot of this is of the success that we each have had is because we did have that legit support group. I was taking notes too, so I didn't forget.
Well, it goes back to what John said. It goes back to the very beginning of what John said. It's not by our our things that have made us successful.
Right.
It's what has brought us. What has brought us down is what really. It doesn't define us, but it keeps us going because there are more people out there to help.
Yep. And it's the right people, you know what I mean? Remember when we were talking the other night and I'm like, I know a lot of people, but my circle is small. Like I got people that I know, but they're not the ones that I'm going to rely on, and while we're doing this live, I still think about what John said the other day. Are you that 6 p.m. friend or are you a 3 a.m. friend? And
perfect
4 a.m., 5 a.m.
That was powerful, John. That was like, wow. I thought about that every day.
It's as true of a statement as you're ever going to have when it comes to either mental health or addiction or anything, any kind of hard situation. that statement is as true as it gets.
100%.
There is a,
And
Yeah.
and you know, and again, you know, as I'm getting to know John better, you know, the reason why I'm very partial to not only Bill but a few other people, and you know, obviously I'm going to get to know John better, is because you're authentic. Like, do you remember? Like, you know, now that we're recording, I can say this so it's out there. Remember when we, you know, we have a friend John. He was up. We went out for your birthday. We celebrated. We were having, you know, not you. You weren't drinking, but do you remember? I put my drink down. I came up. I gave you a hug. And I'm like, I've waited so long to tell you in person. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for changing my life. And you know, if it wasn't for you in that post, and every time I talk to you, you're like, you know, it's just like, what do you need? I'm there for you. And that's just very powerful. And I think that we need so much more of that instead of saying, oh, hey, man, you know, let me get you tomorrow. You know, I'm really busy working on the car or something, you know. And it just seems like you never said that you were too busy. And that's something that everybody needs.
Right. I don't
You
believe
know?
that anyone is too busy just to reach out, you know, to
Sure.
talk. I mean, if you don't have a half an hour, you'd be like, okay, I'll get back to you later, but you can still reach out. And
Yep.
that's all somebody needs is just to know that you care,
yep.
you know, that you are going to be there.
Absolutely, 100%. And you know, we'll share a story that of me and Craig. I'm not gonna, you know, tell what it's about, but he was having a bad day, and he was like, "Dude, I gotta call you." So I took the call right while I was right at work. I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 minutes. And Craig's like, "Hey, I know you're at work," and I'm like, "You don't understand." I'm like, "This is just a job. You could have been standing on the side of a bridge somewhere," which he was not. He wasn't. But he but I'm like, you needed me, and I wasn't going to let you go another moment without making sure you're okay. You
Yeah,
know?
circumstance be damned, you answered the phone, you know,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
that's what friends do.
just in case anybody's watching the show, no, Craig was not standing on the side of a bridge, but you know, we talked, and
No.
I gave him my unsolicited advice, and he, you know, helping him out, and he does the same for me.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
For
what it's all
sure.
about.
You
Sure,
know,
man.
and
And yeah, man. You know, that's right with I can loop that right back to John with you know, it's about giving a man, you know, you don't look down on your brother, you help your brother up, you
Yep.
know?
yeah,
Um and we keep going up that ladder. We keep climbing that mountain. And you know, because we're not over the hill, we're not middle aged, we're just still climbing. Age is just a number, right? Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. No, age really is just a number. And but
Yeah.
you know what comes along with that, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this, is the mature level. Like if this was like say 15 years ago, I wouldn't have listened to Bill. I would have, because I was still in denial. You know, I was still
I'd be hammered.
Yep.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'd
and
be absolutely,
Exactly.
you
yeah,
know,
I'd be no help to anybody.
John
Yeah.
and I lost touch after high school. I mean, that just happens. But I would have been like, you know, who is this guy coming at me with all this, you know, mumbo jumbo that? But because I was
Yep.
in so denial, and I was blaming everybody for the way I was turning out, instead of blaming the only person I could blame, which was me. So, you know,
Yep.
maturity comes a long way with that. And, you know, because back in the day, you know, and again, John, I respect everything that you said and everything you stand for. But if this was 25 years ago and John said he found, you know, Jesus Christ, everybody like, really, you're doing all that? But I didn't see one person flinch. I didn't know that about you in depth, but I person on this show would laugh or do anything, and I think that's just called respect. And I don't know. To me, you two are like really commendable. I respect you and I appreciate you, and I just I do. And you know, John, do you have anything you want to add or?
I mean, I think it's just that, you know, when I hear us all talk about, you know, maturity and there's these certain points in our life that we can actually reference to the day of what changed or why something changed. You know, I go back to something I think I saw this video yesterday or it was today, but I'll just bring it back to, you know, God comes into our life at the right time. You know, he's not too early and he's not too late. He comes in at the right time when he knows we need that to say, okay, are you done acting like a jackass yourself, trying to do it yourself? Because now it's time. It's time to have me help you with that.
Absolutely.
So, and that was the whole purpose of this video. I think this guy was, quoting a couple different scriptures about how God's timing is always really, truly, hyperbole. That's what it was. And even to, like Williams said, it was that day, and something triggered in his mind, in his body, in his soul that said, I'm done. And then, like he said, I think it was a higher power saying, all right, you're done doing it your way.
Yeah.
There's, in my mind, and everybody can interpret it, but in my mind, there's no other excuse. I can tell you, just waking up sick for over a decade, knowing every morning I was sick, and just been like, I can't do anything about it. This morning was different. I was just like, okay, I'm going to be sick today. And I remember it. I'm going to be sick. And I don't remember anything after that because I was really sick. But, I don't know how else to explain it. And it doesn't matter, because I feel, when I talk about it, I feel it. It makes sense to me. And it's okay if it doesn't make sense to everybody.
It's just got to make sense to you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's honest. There's nothing dishonest about it. It's what happened. There was no hallmark. I didn't see the light or anything like that. It was just somebody help me with that tough decision. To be like, okay, you're going to be sick. Let's do this. Here we go.
Right. And then obviously for Bill, it was your work schedule. And then when you got really sick is when you decided to just change how you went about your life, if I'm not mistaken.
Me?
No, John. I'm sorry, John.
Well, yeah, it was, and it's funny because leading up to that point, I think I had in my mind thought about doing something what I had been the last 50 years. But I kept selling myself on the fact I don't know anything else. I just know the gym. I know how to do this. And it was that fear of jumping ship and going, all right, I've got to go into something new and different that I have no idea. And that, again, that fear of failure is what, they always say, failure kills more dreams than actually, the fear of failure kills more dreams than being unsuccessful does. But
and then also that dreams are for chasing, not dreaming.
Exactly. Yep.
And it'd be tough for you because you were already in a point to where you're successful, even though you don't feel it. You're like, okay, I got to change. And your body's probably telling you, well, no, you don't. Your account's just fine. You don't got to change. But I understand.
Yep. And there was, other things into that that needed too much out, but it was the fact that, I remember when my wife and I started dating, she always had a bunch of, he owns his own business. How much money does he make? This and that. And she looked at her friends and she goes, he doesn't make that much money because all the money has to be redirected back into the business. So you have to invest back into it to make it work. So, and it was just the fact that, success today, I think has a totally different definition than how much money, like I said, how much money people make.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For that, success to me is, I always link it back to something I heard from a mentor of mine, years ago. Yes, it's income, but it's also influence and impact. How many other people can I impact and influence in a positive way?
Absolutely.
To change their life and be able to help them in any way possible.
Absolutely. With I just want to touch on what Will and John were saying about, I'm not a religious individual and I don't look down upon anybody who is, but I believe there is a plan for each individual. And I think there was a reason why I stopped working out that day in my bedroom back in 2016, and I saw a post from Will Verity, which changed my life. There's just no other rhyme or reason why I would just log onto Facebook in the middle of a workout and stop and just be in complete awe of what Bill posted, and he knows he knows what the post is. And like, I mean, Bill and I never really communicated much at all since high school. And, from that point on, we were talking and he was guiding me, the gym, fatherhood, this and that and the other thing. And for years, I wanted to do a podcast. I had no idea how to do it. I met Craig, and Craig was like, "Hey, let's meet at Dunkin' Donuts and Watkins. I got this out. Or I got this game plan." So I think like when you change your life and you start doing good things, it gets rewarded back to you. Because I remember I was working out, and like I was like, God, I don't like have any motivation. I don't have any sense of direction. And I saw Will's post, and I wanted to do a podcast, but I don't know how to do it. And along comes Craig, and which now I have you as part of my support group, as I am as of yours. And I just think it's really awesome that when you start changing your life for the better, it gets brought back to you in ways that you just make you go like, wow. And I've said the same thing to Bill, and I've said the same thing to Craig about how like I'm so blessed to be able to do this and have amazing friends such as all of you.
Well, we feel the same about you.
Yeah,
100%. What you're doing, is really important. And it's, anybody can say they're going to do something. Anybody can say, well, I want to do this. You're doing it.
Thank you.
And that's what this is all about. It's like John said, be that person. You're being that person right now. You're calling, you're answering the phone at 4 a.m.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And just with that, so I had said earlier, and I've said it really makes a difference if you have the right people in your life. And I'm just going to share another story. It might be, some tears might flow, but back when Bill was he initial his cancer, I was doubting whether or not, me being so positive on social media was having an effect on anybody, because I don't want people to be like, oh, hey, look at me, da, 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 da. I want to, because people help me. I was at work, and I noticed I had a missed call from Bill, but I also had a voicemail, and Bill knows what I'm going to say. I don't break down and cry as easy, but his voicemail made me believe that what I want to accomplish in life is exactly, I'm doing the right thing. And he made me cry because he basically just said, you're an awesome friend and I can rely on you. And think about how many people just don't. And again, I mean, there are people that do better than me, and I'm trying to get to that level. But just think about for a minute all the people that don't have somebody they can rely on. And Bill just left me a voicemail that broke me down at work, and I was taking in grain. I had to tell the guy, I'm like, you got to give me a minute. I'll be right out. And he's like, you all good? I'm like, you know what? This is happy tears, And I mean, I'm very thankful that we all have each other to rely on, And I think that makes a difference.
It does. Sure. It really does.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that, again, if you can impact just one person, which obviously he did, his message did, it impacted you. He impacted, you guys impacted each other.
Well, that's the thing. He impacted me. I mean, that's why I left him that message. I'm like, dude, you're doing it.
You guys can't see, but like it's starting, but I don't want it to because yes.
Right.
But it is.
Well, and I think it goes back to what you were saying, Jeff, just that, you were saying, oh, I'm doing all these posts on social media. Is it making any sort of an effect? I think that's where, in my personal opinion, social media is so out of whack because so many people do it for likes. They do it for certain status. And, I think it's just, it goes back to something I heard years ago, being, how they say is like, being popular on social is like being rich in Monopoly. It's just it's so fake, and it's
get
just
your 1,000 followers in front.
Right, and Jeff,
it's useful.
You just said something. Don't try to be better. Like you just said, like I want to be better. Just be you, because it's you. It's you as a person. Like that day, you got me. Like you got me. Like you're authentic. You mean it. It's from the heart. Like if you try to be anybody else, you've lost.
Absolutely.
You've lost.
Absolutely.
You're gonna
appreciate that.
Well, it's a fact, man. It's a fact.
And if we can loop that back to Jesus, because he gets us. He gets all of us. He's the final winner. And
it has to be.
I don't mean to interject too much, but I've got to get a kid shower going here soon for,
Okay.
you know,
Yep.
stuff
No worries,
going
I got
on.
man.
2 of them here.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah, no worries.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please do like and subscribe, and
Thank you for
once
having us.
again, our
No, thank
guest,
you guys.
Mr.
Thank
John
you.
Palmer,
I got shirts coming
CEO
for
and
you.
executive,
Yep.
personal trainer and coach, Bill Verity, and also cancer survivor. So, and
FNA.
future author by both you gentlemen. Futures.
It's funny you say that
Absolutely.
because I was thinking the other day that Bill has to write a book. He's got to find somebody to write a book for him if he doesn't
Yes.
write it himself.
I've got pretty much 3/4 of it written already.
There you go.
We'll
There
see.
you go.
Before we go,
There you go.
what can we do to help you, Bill?
Babysit a lot.
We got play dates, man.
Uncle
We're gonna,
Jeff to the rescue.
All right.
Yeah.
Your place, my name's mine.
That's about it.
We
All
got
right.
that. Yeah. Just drop them off.
But they're also my strength, so I'd be miserable without them.
Gotcha.
I know. Oh, I know. Same. Yeah.
Just before we end the show, I just want to say again, I hold each of you, the highest regard because you're authentic, you're genuine, you mean it, you live it every day. Thank you for coming on our show.
Hey, buddy.
Appreciate you. We're going to be doing more shows, obviously. Thank you for being in my life and in Craig's life. Thanks for giving up an hour to be on this show. It's really powerful. I love you guys. I appreciate you.
Love you too.
Love you too, guys.
Thanks again for having us.
We
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All of us,
It's been a blast.
All of us. You got so many brothers right now that you all from another mother. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Happy Easter.
Once again,
Happy Easter,
ladies and
guys.
gentlemen, thank you for tuning into JK's Rewatchable Hour as we continue to stumble through this beautiful thing called life.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. Love you all.
Love you too. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.